Do you know what it's like to hear your own son, the one you carried in your arms, tell his friends you're useless? It's like taking a bullet to the chest, but the blood flows from your eyes in the form of silent tears. My name is Walter Mitchell. I'm 74 years old. Years well lived but poorly appreciated, it seems. I'm retired from the Federal Reserve, where I worked for over 35 years as a special accounts manager in Portland, Oregon. Beautiful city, you know. Not so small that everyone knows everyone's business, not so big that you get lost in it. It's here that I built my life, my family, my dreams. And it's here that I learned sometimes what you plant isn't what you harvest. If you're enjoying this story, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Leave in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is when you're watching. New stories every day on this channel. This old man is very happy to know there are people listening to my life stories, you see. It's like therapy for me to share these things. I worked my whole life to provide comfort for my family. Wasn't rich, but never let anything be lacking at home. My late wife, Eleanor, God rest her soul, gave me 2 children, Sarah, my oldest, who lives far away in Seattle, and Michael, the youngest, who stayed here in Portland. Sarah followed her own path, married well, has 2 beautiful children, visits me occasionally. But Michael, he was always a difficult boy, you know. Since he was little, he had this way of thinking he deserved more than others, but I never imagined that one day he would stab me in the back like he did. When my wife passed away 7 years ago, I thought Michael would mature, would understand that life isn't just about asking and receiving, but it seems the opposite happened. He married Jessica, a good woman, a dedicated teacher, but the marriage only seemed to worsen his behavior. The more I helped, the more he demanded. And me, foolish old man, thinking it was a father's love. It wasn't just that. It was weakness, really, fear of being alone, perhaps. But then came that Friday that changed everything. And you won't believe what this old man, whom everyone thought was good for nothing anymore, was capable of doing. I was born in a small town in upstate New York, in a simple family. My father had a small general store where he sold a little bit of everything. That's where I learned the value of honest work and keeping your word. In my day, a handshake was worth more than any contract. I attended public school, always good with numbers. At 17, I took the bank entrance exam and passed. My father cried with pride that day. I remember it like it was yesterday. "Son, you'll go far," he said. And I promised him I wouldn't disappoint. I started as a clerk, working at the counter, counting money all day. Back then, there were no computers. Everything was done by hand. We balanced the cash drawer with pencil and paper, checking each note. I climbed the ladder slowly at the bank, studying at night, taking courses the bank itself offered. When computers came along, many people were afraid of losing their jobs, but I saw an opportunity there. I learned how to use the systems, took extra courses, adapted, and that secured my promotions. At the downtown Portland branch, where I spent most of my career, I knew every customer by name, the big businessmen, the small shopkeepers. They all came to my desk. I took pride in serving them well, advising people about investments, loans, whatever was best for each person. "Mr. Mitchell," they'd say, "you're the only one who explains things in a way we understand." That gave me a satisfaction no money can buy. It was at the bank that I met Eleanor, too. She worked in the legal department, a beautiful woman with a gentle manner and intelligent eyes. We married in 1978 in a simple ceremony at First Presbyterian Church in Portland. We pooled our savings and bought a plot of land in the West Hills neighborhood. We built gradually, first 2 rooms, then another, until we had the home of our dreams. A simple house, but comfortable, with a yard full of fruit trees that I planted myself. In 1981, Sarah was born, our first daughter. 4 years later came Michael. Eleanor left her job to take care of the children, and I doubled my workload at the bank to compensate. I worked Monday through Saturday, often staying late to close out the day's business. During school vacations, I worked overtime to save a little extra money and take the family to the beach. Cannon Beach, always Cannon Beach. It was far enough to feel like an adventure, but close enough that our budget didn't suffer too much. The sacrifices were many. How many times did I forgo buying new clothes for myself to pay for Sarah's French classes? How many times did I give up my Sunday rest to take Michael to soccer games? and the sleepless nights when one of them got sick, but I did it all gladly. That's family, isn't it? You give without thinking twice. The children's education was always a priority. I saved wherever I could to pay for private school. Sarah was always studious, responsible, got good grades. Michael was another story, intelligent, he always was, but lazy like nobody's business. How many times was I called to school because he hadn't done his homework? And the summer schools at the end of the year that cost me extra courses, that strained the budget. Even so, I never gave up on him. He'll find his way, Eleanor would say, more patient than me. When it came time for college, Sarah got into law at Reed College. Michael tried business administration, failed, tried again until he got into Portland State. I paid every tuition payment by the sweat of my brow, economizing on lunch, working overtime, but it was worth it. I always said the only inheritance no one can take from you is education. Over the years, I built a modest but secure estate. Besides our home, I managed to buy a small apartment as an investment that I rented out to supplement our income. I had a private pension plan that I fed for decades, penny by penny. I saved everything I could in savings accounts and some more conservative investments. I wasn't one to take big risks. I always preferred the safe path. My father used to say, "Money isn't earned overnight. It's earned by the sweat of your brow and saved grain by grain." When I retired 14 years ago, I was in a comfortable situation. Wasn't rich, far from it, but could live peacefully without depending on my children. Sarah was already graduated, working as a lawyer at a respected firm, married to an engineer. Michael had finished college after a few stumbles and was working as a sales manager at an electronics store. It seemed like everything was on track, but that's when things began to change. First, Eleanor fell ill. Pancreatic cancer, the kind that when it's discovered is already advanced. We fought for 2 years. I spent a good portion of our savings on treatments, but in the end, medicine has its limits. When she passed in 2018, a part of me went with her. There was a void that nothing could fill, and it was in this moment of fragility that Michael began to show a side I didn't know. At first, it seemed he just wanted to help. He offered to take care of my accounts, suggested we open a joint account to make things easier, he said. As I was vulnerable, I accepted. He was my son, after all. What harm could there be? The first signs appeared subtly, bank statements that disappeared, expenses I didn't recognize, a renovation on the apartment that he insisted needed to be done using my money, a new car that, according to him, was safer for a gentleman of your age, and that condescending tone as if I were incapable of making my own decisions. Jessica, my daughter-in-law, would sometimes look at me in a way that suggested she wanted to say something, but didn't have the courage. At family dinners, when Michael would speak for me or decide what I should eat, she would lower her eyes uncomfortably. I should have paid more attention to those signs, but we always want to believe the best of our children, don't we? Things gradually got worse, like water filling a glass drop by drop until it overflows. After Eleanor passed, Michael started coming to my house more often. At first, I thought it was nice. My son is worried about me, I thought, deluded. He would bring Jessica, and we'd have a barbecue on Sunday. Everything seemed fine, but I began to notice a pattern. He always arrived with some paper for me to sign, some new idea to improve my finances, as he put it. Once he came with a project to remodel my house. "Dad, this house is too old. We need to modernize it," and showed me a budget that would be enough to buy a new apartment. When I questioned it, he got angry. "You don't understand anything about construction. Let me handle this." It was the first time he spoke to me that way, as if I were a senile old man. It hurt, but I swallowed it. After all, he was my son. Another time, he showed up with an unmissable investment. He wanted me to take money out of my savings to invest in a company that, according to him, would give guaranteed profits. I was suspicious, asked to see the documents, asked some questions. He got impatient. "Dad, trust me. I understand these things. You're too old-fashioned." I didn't invest. Months later, I found out the company had gone bankrupt and many people lost money. When I mentioned it to him, he changed the subject. His control over my financial life increased. He insisted so much that I eventually agreed to have a joint account. Just for emergencies, he said. At first it was just a small deposit I made, but soon he started suggesting I transfer more. Dad, why do you need so much money? Leave it in our account where I can manage it better. And so, without really noticing, a considerable part of my retirement and savings was in this account that he controlled. The apartment I was renting started having problems. According to Michael, the tenant was a good guy, paid on time, took good care of the property. But Michael insisted he wasn't reliable, that we needed someone better. One day, without consulting me, he terminated the contract and put a friend of his there. The rent, which used to come reliably on the 5th of every month, started to be late. Sometimes it came in half, sometimes not at all. When I complained, he'd say, "Calm down, Dad. The guy is going through difficulties, but he'll pay it all together later." Jessica watched all this in silence, but I could tell she was uncomfortable. Once she came to visit me alone, which was rare. We had coffee, made small talk, and when she was leaving, she hesitated at the door. "Mr. Mitchell," she said quietly, "do you need anything? Is everything really okay?" I assured her it was, but she didn't seem convinced. "If you need anything, call me directly on my cell phone, okay?" That got me thinking. The problems weren't just financial. Michael started making decisions about my routine, too. "Dad, don't go to that doctor of yours anymore. He's outdated. I've made an appointment with another." Or, "You don't need to go to the grocery store anymore. We'll bring the shopping to you." It was as if he was gradually taking away my independence, my ability to decide about my own life. But even with all this, I never imagined what was to come. Never thought my own son, my flesh and blood, could disrespect me in that way. It was an ordinary Friday in August. I was in the yard tending to my plants. I have a lemon tree that gives such sweet lemons that people don't believe it when they taste them. I was pruning it, talking to the plant as I always do. The neighbors think it's old man's craziness, but I know plants listen. Then my cell phone vibrated in my pocket. It was a message from Jason. Jason is Michael's childhood friend. They grew up together in the neighborhood. A good young man, always treated me with respect. The message said, "Mr. Mitchell, how are you? I need to show you something. It's not easy, but I think you should see it. Michael is my friend, but this isn't right." Right after came a video. I opened it without imagining what it could be, and that's when my world collapsed. In the video was Michael at a backyard barbecue with friends, the kind you have on weekends in gated communities. They were drinking, laughing, talking loudly. Someone asked a question that wasn't clear, and Michael answered, laughing, "My dad. That old man is useless, only good for paying my credit card and being a pain in the neck." The laughter from the others sounded like stabs to my heart. One of them even said, "But wasn't he a banker? Must have some money saved up, right?" And Michael, my son, the one I carried in my arms, taught to walk, paid for college, sweating every cent, replied, "He had, but now I manage everything." The old man doesn't even know how much he has anymore. All I have to do is whine that I need money for this or that, and he hands it over. More laughter. Someone asked, "And Jessica, what does she think about all this?" Michael shrugged. "She complains, says it's not right, blah, 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 but she benefits too, doesn't she? Who paid for that trip to Hawaii last year? The old man right here." And he pointed to himself mockingly. The video ended there, but the hole that opened in my chest, that has no end. I stood frozen in the yard with the phone in my hand, unable to move. The tears came, but I barely felt them. It was as if a part of me had died right there. I don't know how long I stayed like that. When I came to, it was getting dark. I went inside and sat in the living room armchair, the one that was Eleanor's. I stared at her photo on the sideboard, as if asking for advice. "What do I do, Eleanor? Where did we go wrong with this boy?" The phone rang several times, but I didn't answer. It was Jason, worried, wanting to know if I was okay. I only replied the next day with a simple, "Thank you for letting me know. I'm okay." For 3 days, I didn't speak to anyone. I stayed home thinking, reviewing my life, trying to understand how I had reached that point. I felt like a failure as a father. Where had I gone wrong? Had I been too soft, Or had I worked so much that I didn't give enough attention? The questions spun in my head, without answers. On Sunday, as usual, Michael showed up with Jessica for lunch. I forced myself to act normally. I made that spaghetti with tomato sauce he's liked since childhood. I talked, smiled, pretended I didn't know anything, but each time I looked at him, I remembered the words, "That old man is useless." Jessica observed me with a strange look. At one point, when Michael went to the bathroom, she approached and asked quietly, "Is everything okay, Mr. Mitchell? You seem sad." I almost told her, almost, but I just answered that I was a little tired. When they were leaving, Michael, as always, asked for money. "Dad, I need some cash to pay a bill that's due. Can you help me out?" For the first time, I hesitated, but ended up opening my wallet and giving him what he asked for. He barely thanked me, just stuffed the money in his pocket and left, saying he was late for an appointment. That night I made a decision. I would no longer be the useless old man that Michael described to his friends. I still had my wits about me. I still knew how to manage my life and my money. And more importantly, I still had my dignity. On Monday, early in the morning, I went to the bank, not the one where Michael had a joint account with me, but another one, where I maintained an old account he didn't know about. I opened a new account, only in my name. Then I went to the notary's office and registered a power of attorney giving authority to my daughter Sarah, in case I needed help one day. I called her, told her broadly what was happening, without going into details about the video. I didn't want her to fight with her brother because of me. Over the next 2 days I acted methodically, as if I were closing a big deal at the bank. I went to the property management company that administered the rented apartment and terminated the contract with Michael's friend. I contacted a real estate agent and put the apartment up for sale. It was a good property, well located. A buyer appeared quickly. The hardest part was deciding about the house, that house where I lived with Eleanor, where I raised my children. Every corner had a memory, but it had also become a prison, a place where I felt diminished and controlled. After much thought, I decided to sell it too. I found a buyer who paid a good price in cash. The only condition I imposed was a 60-day period to vacate. Meanwhile, I pretended nothing was happening. Michael continued to show up, asking for money, acting as if I were just an ATM at his disposal, and I continued to give, knowing these would be the last times. The final blow was when I transferred all the money from the joint account to my new account, leaving just enough so it wouldn't go negative. I did this on a Friday night, knowing Michael would only discover it on Monday when he tried to use the card. And then, that same weekend, I disappeared. Not literally, of course. I just left home without telling anyone, taking only 2 suitcases with clothes and personal belongings, and Eleanor's photo. I deliberately left my cell phone at home. I went to a simple but comfortable hotel in another part of Portland. I needed this time alone to think about the next step. As I imagined, the hotel phone didn't stop ringing. It was Michael, desperate, trying to locate me. He must have called every hospital in the city, imagining I had fallen ill. That wasn't my intention to scare him like that, but perhaps he needed to feel a little of the desperation he caused me. On Tuesday, 5 days after leaving home, I decided it was time to end that part of the plan. I wrote a simple letter, without drama, just stating the facts. I didn't mention the video directly, but made it clear that I knew what he thought of me. I explained that I had sold the house and the apartment, that the money was safe, and that from that moment on he would have to walk on his own 2 feet. "Son," I wrote, "you called me useless, but remember, it was this useless man who gave you a roof, food, and a name. Now learn to walk on your own, because love without respect is charity, and charity runs out. Dad." I hired a courier to deliver the letter, along with the house key. Then I went back to the hotel and waited. I knew the reaction would be strong, and it was. Half an hour after delivery, Michael showed up at the hotel, furious. How he found me, I don't know. Maybe he bribed someone at reception or followed the courier. He knocked on the room door, shouting my name. When I opened it, he stormed in like a hurricane. "What's this about, Dad? You sold the house and our money. Where is it?" His face was red with anger, his eyes bulging. I kept calm. "It's not our money, Michael. It's my money, the fruit of my decades of work. And yes, I sold the house and the apartment too. You can't do this. We had agreed. We didn't agree on anything, I interrupted. You were making decisions for me, thinking I was incapable, that I was, what was it you said? Oh yes, useless. He froze. His expression changed from anger to shock. What are you talking about? You know very well. I saw you in the video, Michael, with your friends laughing at me, saying I'm only good for paying your bills. He went pale. Who showed you that? It was Jessica, wasn't it? It wasn't Jessica, and it doesn't matter who it was. What matters is that you said it, and worse, you believe it. He tried to compose himself, change tactics. Dad, it was just a joke, guy talk. You know how it is. We say stupid things when we're with friends. It wasn't serious. It didn't seem like a joke, Michael. It seemed very serious when you said you were managing my money without me knowing. Look, I can explain that. You don't need to explain anything. I've understood everything, and now I want you to understand something. It's over. I won't be your bank anymore. I won't be treated like a useless old man. I'm 74, not 104. I'm of sound mind and perfectly capable of taking care of my life and my money. Michael changed tactics again. He started crying the way he did when he was a child and wanted to get a toy. Dad, forgive me, I was an idiot. I don't know what got into me. Please, let's talk. Let's work this out. We are talking now, Michael, and it's already resolved. I sold the house. The buyer is giving you and Jessica 60 days to find another place. I think that's fair. 60 days? Are you crazy? Where are we going to live? With what money? That irritated me deeply. With your money, Michael. You're 37, you have a job. It's time to live on what you earn, not on what I earn. Jessica works too. The two of you, with no children, should be able to manage perfectly. He was silent for a moment, as if processing it all. Then the anger returned. You'll regret this, Dad. You can't just cut me off like this. I'm your son. Yes, you are my son, and that's precisely why it hurts so much to hear what you said. But I still love you, Michael. I just won't allow you to treat me like a doormat anymore. He left, slamming the door. I could still hear him cursing in the hallway. I sat on the bed, exhausted, but strangely at peace. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I had regained control of my life. It was painful, yes, but necessary. In the weeks that followed, Michael tried everything. First, he threatened to sue me, claiming I wasn't mentally fit to make decisions about my assets. Then he tried to use Sarah as an intermediary, but after knowing the whole story, she took my side. Finally, he sent Jessica to talk to me, thinking I would be more lenient with her. And indeed, when Jessica appeared at the hotel, I received her. She was visibly uncomfortable, embarrassed. We sat on the small sofa in the room and she began to cry. Mr. Mitchell, I didn't know about this video, I swear. When Michael told me what had happened, I was horrified. I tried to talk to him several times about how he treated you, but he never listened to me. I offered her a tissue. I know, Jessica. I never thought you were complicit in this. She dried her tears. We're in a difficult situation now. Michael has several debts you don't know about. Credit cards, loans. He spends more than he earns. He always thought you would cover everything. And now, with 60 days to leave the house, will you manage, Jessica? You'll manage. You're a strong, intelligent woman. Maybe it's time for Michael to grow up, to become the man he should be. She smiled sadly. I don't know if our marriage will survive this, Mr. Mitchell. We're fighting a lot. He blames me for not being able to convince you to change your mind. That pained me. I didn't want to be responsible for the end of their marriage. Maybe this crisis is necessary, Jessica. Sometimes we only grow when we face difficulties. She stayed a while longer. We talked about other things. Before leaving, she hugged me tightly. You did the right thing. Someone needed to give him a reality check. I just hope he learns the lesson before it's too late. I saw in her eyes that she was sincere, and that gave me even more certainty that I had made the right decision, however painful it was. The turning point began when I received an unexpected phone call. It was Mr. Jenkins, an old bank client who became a friend over the years. He still owns a respected real estate agency in Portland, despite his 82 years. "Walter, my friend, it's been a long time. I heard you're selling your house. Why didn't you come to me?" I explained that everything happened very quickly, that I needed to make urgent decisions. He, perceptive as always, realized there was more to it. "Look, I won't meddle in family matters, but I know when a friend is going through difficulties. Why don't you come have lunch with me tomorrow? I have a proposal that might interest you." At lunch, Mr. Jenkins told me he was looking for someone trustworthy to manage some properties he owned. Nothing too complicated. Collecting rents, supervising maintenance, dealing with tenants. "I need someone who understands people and money. Someone like you, Walter." At first, I hesitated. I had been retired for years, didn't know if I had the energy to go back to work, but he insisted, "It's not heavy work, 2-3 hours a day at most, and it will keep you occupied with your mind working. Plus," he smiled, "I pay well." That proposal came at just the right time. Not that I needed the money. The sale of the house and the apartment, along with my retirement, guaranteed me a comfortable life. But the idea of having an occupation, of feeling useful again, was irresistible. I accepted on the spot. In addition, Mr. Jenkins offered me one of the houses he managed to rent. It's small but well located. Close to downtown, you can walk to many places, and it has a little yard where you can plant your herbs and spices. I went to see the house the same day and fell in love. It was an old construction but well preserved, with 2 bedrooms, a living room, kitchen, and a bathroom. The yard was small but perfect for my plants. Even better, it was just 2 blocks from Mr. Jenkins's office. I signed the lease agreement the same week and started moving in. I didn't take much from the old house. Most of the furniture would stay for the new owner. I bought a new bed, a comfortable sofa, a simple dining table. The rest I would acquire gradually, without hurry. The work at the real estate agency started well. I soon got the hang of things. Many of the tenants were older people like me, and they liked to chat when they came to pay the rent. I received them with coffee, listened to their stories, solved their problems. Mr. Jenkins was impressed. "Walter, you have a gift. Since you started, complaints have decreased by half." I was feeling alive again, useful, valued. For the first time in a long time, I was getting up early, not out of obligation, but because I was excited about the day ahead. Meanwhile, I received news about Michael through Jessica. She would call me occasionally, always hiding it from him. She told me they had to move to a much smaller apartment, that Michael was having difficulties paying his debts, that the atmosphere at home was tense. "He's still very hurt, Mr. Mitchell. He refuses to talk about you. When I bring up the subject, he shuts down or leaves the house." That pained me, of course, but I also knew it was necessary. Some lessons in life are only learned through pain. Sarah, my older daughter, came to visit when she heard about everything. She brought the grandchildren, Lucas, 12, and Ellie, 8. They were enchanted with the new house, especially with the blueberry bush in the yard that was already loaded with fruit. "Dad, you did the right thing," said Sarah, as we watched the children playing. "Michael has always been like this, you know, since he was little, thinking the world revolved around him. Mom always said that one day it would cause problems. I didn't want it to come to this point," I confessed. "But he left me no choice. He'll understand one day, maybe not now, maybe it will take years, but he'll understand." The complete turnaround happened about 3 months after I left home. I was at the real estate office, attending to a lady who wanted to rent a house for her son who was getting married. Suddenly the door opened, and in walked Michael. He looked different, thinner, with dark circles under his eyes, his hair longer than usual. He wore a simple shirt, jeans and worn sneakers, none of the designer clothes he loved so much. The client noticed the tension and politely said she would return later. When we were alone, the silence weighed for a few moments. Michael spoke first. "So this is where you work now?" "Yes," I replied, not knowing exactly what to say. He looked around at the simple but organized office. "Mr. Jenkins told me, said you're the best employee he's ever had." "It's a good job, keeps me busy." More silence. He seemed to be struggling with the words. "Dad, I came to apologize for what I said in the video, for the way I treated you, for everything. I won't lie, I was surprised. Michael was never one to apologize, since he was little. He always found a way to blame others for his mistakes. "What made you change your mind?" I asked, genuinely curious. He sighed deeply. "Many things. Losing the house, having to manage without your help, realizing how much things cost, how hard it is to pay bills at the end of the month." He paused. "But mainly it was Jessica. Jessica left me a month ago, Dad. Said she couldn't stand my immaturity, my selfishness anymore, that she was ashamed of the way I treated you." He swallowed hard, holding back tears. She was right. I felt a pang in my heart. I didn't want their marriage to end, despite everything. "I'm sorry, son." "Don't be. It was my fault, mine alone." He ran his hand through his hair, nervous. "You know what's worse? It's not even losing the house or Jessica leaving. It's knowing that I disappointed you, that I hurt the one person who was always by my side, no matter what." His tears finally came, and with them mine too. I got up from the chair and hugged him tightly, as I hadn't done since he was a boy. We stayed like that for a while, just the two of us, father and son, trying to mend something that had been broken. When we separated, he wiped his face with his shirt sleeve. "I don't know if you'll ever be able to forgive me, Dad. I don't know if I deserve it." "I've already forgiven you, Michael, the moment you walked through that door." He shook his head in disbelief. "How can it be so easy after everything I did?" "It's not easy, son. Forgiveness never is, but you're my son and nothing changes that." I paused. "Now earning back my trust, that will take time." He nodded, understanding. "Fair. Very fair." I invited him to lunch, and he accepted. We went to a simple restaurant nearby, one of those that serves home-style cooking. During lunch, he told me how the last few months had been. Difficult, as I imagined. Money tight, debts piling up, pressure at work, fights with Jessica. "I had to sell the car, Dad, the one you helped me buy. Now I take the bus to work. 2 transfers, an hour and a half to go, an hour and a half to come back." He gave a sad smile. "Just like you did when I was a kid, remember? I used to complain so much when I had to go with you, thought it was such a drag." "Life has those ironies," I commented. "Yeah." He hesitated before continuing. "Dad, I didn't come here to ask for money. I swear I didn't. I just wanted to apologize, to tell you I'm sorry, to see if you're okay. I know, son, and I am okay, believe me. Better than I've been for a long time." We said goodbye with another hug, lighter this time. He promised to come more often. "If you'll let me," he said, insecure. Of course I did. Despite everything, I never stopped loving my son. The following week, he appeared at the office again. This time, he brought an envelope. "It's part of the money I owe you," he explained. "It's not much. I know it doesn't pay back 1/10 of what you spent on me over the years, but it's a start." I was moved by the gesture. "You didn't have to, Michael." "Yes, I did. It's a matter of honor for me now." I accepted the envelope, not for the money, but for what it meant. It was a symbol that he truly wanted to change, to rebuild our relationship on new foundations. The real surprise, however, came 2 weeks later. Michael showed up accompanied not by Jessica, but by Jason, the friend who had sent me the video. "Dad, Jason wanted to talk to you." Jason seemed nervous, uncomfortable. "Mr. Mitchell, I came to apologize for not interfering that day, for keeping quiet while Michael said those things. I should have defended you, said it wasn't right. You did what you could, Jason. You sent me the video, showed me the truth. That was an act of courage. I still feel bad about it, you know? And also because, well, it was my idea to record the barbecue. We were celebrating Mark's promotion, and I thought it would be nice to have a memento." I put my hand on his shoulder. "Don't blame yourself. If it weren't for that video, I would have continued being deceived. I would have continued believing everything was fine. It was painful, but necessary." The two stayed a while longer. We talked about trivialities. Before leaving, Michael surprised me. "Dad, I'm looking for an apartment closer to yours. That way I can visit you more often, maybe have lunch together occasionally." "That would be great, son." The weeks passed, and our relationship was slowly rebuilt. Michael began to appear regularly, sometimes just for a quick coffee, other times for a long lunch. During one of these visits, he brought news. "I got a new job, Dad, with the competition. It's a better position, with more responsibility and a slightly higher salary. That's good, son, I'm proud. He seemed surprised by my reaction. You are? I thought you would say I was being ungrateful to the current company after so many years. Michael, I always taught you to value work, not the company. If you found a place where you'll develop more, grow more, be happier, then it's the right path. He smiled, relieved. I'm going to use the raise to continue paying what I owe you, and also, well, I'm thinking of reaching out to Jessica. Do you think she would come back? I don't know, maybe not, but I at least want to tell her she was right, that I'm trying to change, that I thank her for trying to show me the way before. I saw in that moment that my son was truly maturing. Finally, the pain had been necessary. It had been the catalyst for a transformation that was long overdue. A month later, I received another unexpected visit. It was Jessica. She was beautiful as always, but with a more serious, more mature expression. Mr. Mitchell, I came to thank you. Michael reached out to me, apologized, said you helped him see many things. Will you get back together? I asked directly. She smiled sadly. I don't know. It's still early. He is changing, yes, but I need to be sure it's a true permanent change. She paused. But we're talking again, and that's already a start. That filled me with hope. Perhaps with time and patience, they could rebuild what was broken. Michael continued his journey of change, paid off all his debts, saved, bought a used car, more modest, found a small, more comfortable apartment near mine. He began visiting Sarah and his niece and nephew more frequently, something he rarely did before. In short, he was becoming the man I always knew he could be. One day he invited me to dinner at his new apartment. To my surprise, when I arrived, Jessica was there too. They hadn't gotten back together, they quickly explained. It was just a dinner among friends, but the atmosphere between them seemed light, cordial, even affectionate at times. During dinner, Michael made a toast. To you, Dad, for having the courage to do what was necessary, even though it was painful, for not giving up on me even when I deserved it. Jessica raised her glass too. To Mr. Mitchell, who taught us that true love sometimes means saying no. I was moved, speechless. I just raised my glass and toasted with them, grateful for that moment of reconciliation. At the end of the evening, as I was leaving, Michael handed me an envelope. It's the last payment, Dad. I've paid back everything I owed you. I refused. Keep this money, son. Invest, save for the future, or better. I looked at Jessica, who was watching the scene from the kitchen. Use it to restart your life, maybe with a second chance. He followed my gaze and smiled, understanding. Maybe, Dad, maybe. True justice didn't come in the form of revenge or punishment. It came in the form of growth, learning, transformation. Michael had to face the consequences of his actions. Yes, he had to experience firsthand what it's like to make it on your own, what it's like to have to work hard to get what you want. But most importantly, he had to recognize his mistakes, take responsibility for them, and make a genuine effort to change. And I learned that it's never too late to start over. At 74, I have a new life, a job that gives me pleasure, a cozy home, and most importantly, I've regained my dignity. I'm no longer the useless old man my son described to his friends. I'm Walter Mitchell, respected by those who know me, valued for what I do, loved by my family. The greatest lesson I took from all this is that true love is not permissive. True love is demanding, sets boundaries, demands responsibility. And sometimes the greatest act of love we can do for someone is to allow that person to face the consequences of their choices. Only then can they grow, mature, become the best version of themselves. Today, a year after everything that happened, I'm sitting in the yard of my house tending to the lemon tree I planted as soon as I moved in. It's already bearing fruit, small still, but promising. Like life, I think, which sometimes needs time to mature and show its sweetness. Michael and Jessica are trying again. They got back together 4 months ago but decided to do things differently. This time they're living in separate houses, dating again, as they say. He continues in the apartment near mine, she in hers. They meet on weekends, go out to dinner, go to the movies, like two young people getting to know each other again. "It's better this way, Dad," Michael explained to me. "I want to prove to her that I've truly changed, that it's not just talk. And I also want to be sure we're getting back together for the right reasons, not out of convenience or fear of being alone." I was impressed by his maturity. This is not the same Michael who saw marriage as a convenience, who treated his wife as an extension of his whims. At work, he continues to stand out. He received another promotion recently. He's now regional sales manager. "I'm saving for a down payment on a small house, Dad. Something of our own, mine and Jessica's, built with our effort." I couldn't help but smile hearing this. It was exactly what Eleanor and I did so many years ago, building gradually, with our own effort, valuing each achievement. Sarah visits me more frequently now. She brings the grandchildren who love my yard and especially the stories I tell. Lucas, at 13, is almost my height. Ellie, now 9, is the spitting image of her grandmother. Same eyes, same smile. As for me, I continue working at Mr. Jenkins's real estate agency, not out of financial necessity. The sale of the house and apartment along with my retirement guarantees me a comfortable life without needing to work. But I discovered I like the routine, the contact with people, feeling that I'm being useful. Mr. Jenkins turned 83 last month, and at the party, to my surprise, he announced he's passing the complete management of the real estate agency to me. Walter has a knack for the business, and more importantly, he has character. "I know my clients will be in good hands," he said, raising his glass in my direction. It was a tremendous honor. I didn't expect at 75 to be starting a new professional phase, but life is full of these surprises, isn't it? Sometimes I wonder if I did the right thing that day when I discovered the video. If the decision to sell everything, to cut the financial cord with Michael so abruptly, was the best one. Would a more gradual approach have been better? A frank conversation before taking such drastic measures? But then I look at my son now. I see the man he's become. Responsible, hard-working, aware of the value of money and, above all, respectful, not just to me, but to everyone around him. And I think that sometimes life needs to give us a shake to wake us up. As my late Eleanor used to say, some lessons are only learned through pain. She was always wiser than me. Last Sunday we had lunch at my house. Everyone was there. Michael, Jessica, Sarah with her husband and children, Jason, who is now a close friend of mine too, and even Mr. Jenkins stopped by for dessert. I prepared spaghetti with that tomato sauce that Michael always liked, and Jessica brought a lemon pie that was so good it would make you cry. During lunch, I observed everyone talking, laughing, sharing stories. I felt a peace I hadn't felt in a long time, a feeling that despite the stumbles, the mistakes, the hurts in the end, we were all exactly where we should be. As we were serving dessert, Michael asked to speak. He seemed nervous, which is rare these days. "I have an announcement to make," he said, holding Jessica's hand. Jessica is pregnant. We're having a baby." The table exploded in congratulations, hugs, tears of joy. Sarah was the first to hug her brother, then Jessica. The grandchildren were euphoric with the idea of having a little cousin. Jason patted Michael on the back, joking that he had finally gotten something right. I stood frozen, absorbing the news. A grandson or granddaughter, a new Mitchell to continue our story. Michael came to me and hugged me tight. "It's going to be a boy, Dad, we already know, and we're going to name him Walter in your honor, if you'll allow it, of course." I couldn't hold back the tears. I hugged my son with all the strength I had, with all the love I had always felt for him, even in the most difficult moments. "It would be an honor, son, a tremendous honor." That night, after everyone left, I sat on the porch, looking at the stars. I thought of Eleanor, how happy she would be to see our family united again, to know she would have another grandchild. I could almost hear her voice, smell her perfume in the air. "We're doing well, my love," I whispered to the sky. Our boy has finally grown up. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the lemon tree as if it were an answer, and I knew in that moment that it had been worth it. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt and pain. It had all been worth it because, in the end, that's what life is about, isn't it? Learning, growing, forgiving, having the courage to do what is necessary, even when it hurts, believing that no matter how dark the night, the sun always rises again. And here I am, Walter Mitchell, at 75, discovering that life can surprise you when you least expect it, that it's never too late to start over, to be happy, to feel that you make a difference in this world. My son called me useless once. Today he will name his son after me. Life has those ironies, those unexpected redemptions. As for me, well, I'm just an old man who learned that love without respect is charity, and charity runs out. But love with respect, that's forever. If you're enjoying this story, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Leave in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is when you're watching. New stories every day on this channel, Grandpa's Voice.